outside of Eretz Israel. It's impossible. They never understand you. Ech is not, you can't do it. Ech is how could anybody understand it? So just like you guys, our father was born in a time, in a family situation that you'll never understand. However, I'm going to say I've tried a few things about who he was, and maybe you'll understand, maybe you won't understand, but anyways. So I tried to write down about 6 or 7 different things about him. There's about 5 or 6 things I think that were ikarim, that were important to him, that I want to tell you guys, and you'll understand it or you won't understand it. I'll say a few things that there were, I had 6 things that were important to him, and I do not, and I'm going to say this, and my sister might be upset what I'm about to say, I am not going to connect these to any Jewish midah. These are purely him. Because it would do violence to him, it would be wrong to him to connect them, to say that we're going to try to, just don't touch it anymore. It would be wrong to say that he was like this Haredi Nistar, and he had all these midas, and that we're going to. This is not the mishpacha version of Kallman David ben Avraham. This is, in my opinion, who he is. Allison, you'll have the camera. She can say whatever she'd like. It's up to her. She can say whatever she would like to do. Not right now, okay? But I don't think, I'm not going to give you the mishpacha version of Kallman David ben Avraham. I'm going to tell you who I think he was. And he wasn't like this Haredi Nistar that I'm going to tell you all these midas that were so wonderful, and then we're going to say, well, you know, it was like this, the Gemara says like this, and the Midrash says, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to tell you who I think he was. He was a fantastic person, but he got, and however he developed these midot, that was how he did it. I don't know how he did it. Sometimes he got it from his, so I'm in no order, there's no order here, so I'm going to tell you these midot, guys, for the grandchildren, so you know a little bit about who he was. First of all, our father was very brave. Okay? Brave. Gibor. He was a Gibor. He was not afraid of, when his family was threatened, when other people were threatened, when other people were going to be hurt, he defended them. Right? He defended me, and he defended Allison and brother and my mother and other people who were going to hurt them. And he was very brave. And he wasn't afraid of people even bigger than he was if he felt that it was right to protect them. So he was a very brave man, and I think that's it's a beautiful thing. He was very brave. Right.
Tell a few stories.
Well, I'll tell you one. I'll tell you 2. I know it is. I don't want to do that. Okay? I could tell you. I could say Vortlach. All these I could say Vortlach on. But I will say that I'll give you 2 stories. Nechemi, I'll give you 2 stories. One story was a neighbor. I think you heard. I said this when we had the shiva. When a neighbor that a man was beating up. We had a neighbor, and the neighbor was beating up his wife. So our father. This man is actually today, by the way, a very famous person. You should know. Yeah. Vern is he's a famous manager and producer of. He is actually. Any case, well, okay, whatever. My father took him out of the house and beat him up. This man who was beating. We had a neighbor. The man was beating up his wife. Our father heard that, took him out of the house and beat him up till he would stop. And he threatened him. He said, "If you ever touch her again, I'm going to come beat you up again." And there was a fence. They had called picket fences. I've never seen them here before. They have like 2. They have two bars, and then things like this that run like to Shimalot. He tore one of them off and hit him over the head with it. Okay, so.
I was trying to figure out how the mishpacha would like.
I don't know. So that was one example of his being brave. The other example. It was already married. The second story I can remember is I was in an apartment building we were living in. So we had car 1, car 2, the car I was going to drive. I think car 1 was Allison's car in this case. Car 2 was the car that I wanted to take to work, and car 3 was a person who parked behind me. Now I had to get to work, so I needed to get into the car. So I came downstairs and I said, because I couldn't get out of the car, I yelled in the building area, is anybody parked behind me? So anyways, there were two very, very big black guys and one other guy in an apartment. And this guy started, said, he was yelling and screaming like, no, I'm not going to move my car. Anyways, our father now, he was probably about 45, 46 years old, comes downstairs with a baseball bat. Well, he flew down. Excuse me, Allison's right.
I don't even know how he got down the stairs.
He flew downstairs with his baseball bat and was looking at these two big black guys plus this other guy holding a baseball bat in his hand and was thinking, you better move your car, I'm going to, beat the whatever out of you. And they said, oh yes, and they were like little shafanim. They were like little rabbits, and they sort of backed down and they moved their car. So those are two examples that I can think of.
When he got crashed, I'm saying, stop the guy.
That's right. Many stories of his being very brave. So that's story number one. Story number two is cared about other people. Now this my father would want it not to be known too much, but you should know that for many, many years, up probably from the time he was in his probably 20s until probably we came to Eretz Israel, Allison, Lewis, my mother, and I, he was actually did volunteer work to help poor people, to help them to read. In other words, he and my mother did things to help other people, and that was things that they weren't Jewish people, they were black people or Latin or Mexican people or whatever, but he cared about other people, and that was a part of who he was, to care about other people. I think that was a very important thing about him. During when the war in 1973 war happened, the Milchemet Yom Kippur, we were in the shul. Now we were in Los Angeles, so remember we were 10 hours, so the war was already going on, and they had a big schnorring in the shul to raise money for the war, because remember there was a big war going on here, and it was who knows, you never know. So our father gave more money than he had to the truma to donate for the war, for food, or whoever it went. So he really did care about other people. The other thing which is very important to our father was hope, tikva. Now, this is probably the most important meeting he ever had, and there's no order here. I'm just saying the way I was thinking about it. That he had a lot of tikva. He always believed that whatever the situation a person is in, he can always be better. He never believed that you're ever stuck. You can always do better. You can always do more. You never, and even though maybe in his own life he did it for himself, but he always believed, and that's something that the grandchildren should really understand, that he really believed that a person there's always hope. There's never that there's a person can always do better, that the world, and importantly, even the world can do better. And he always believed, and this is probably not about Mashiach, but he believed that the world was getting better, that the world will always be better, that every year will be better than next year. My father was not right, that's another point. Our father was never a person who looked back in the past and said, wow, it was so great in the past, it was so fantastic. In those days, everything was great. No, he saw that the future that was the best. The future was always the best. So that was a very important midah for him. The next thing he had was what I might call in Latin carpe diem, which I don't know how you would translate it here, but he believed that seize the day, that every day, he believed that every day, I'm sure there is, you have to, every day, you have an obligation to be. It's like, what, and I don't want to say this, like it says in the first mitzvah in the Torah, right? You have to come to Aryeh. You have to wake up in the morning like a lion. You have to go out in the world and conquer the world, and that's a person has an obligation. So he definitely had a belief in what I would call carpe diem, or